AskReddit by Johnny McTavish. What would you guys do if a war begins and you were forced to go and fight? If there's a war that they want me to fight in, we're already fucked. Most sane militaries don't want me on the battlefield because of my heart conditions, bad aim and overall weak body. I'm in my 60s. If the US is that desperate for soldiers that they're drafting old timers, then the US is in trouble. 60s is the new 30s. Just see how nimble and limber our politicians are. Let's give them rifles and have them join the draft too. Immediately die. Shoot myself immediately because that's better than being alive during wartime. I'm 62. They better make me a door gunner because I'm not gonna be walking. If we're actually invaded, I'll volunteer to drive something because I've trucked my whole life and I'm good at it. I'm with you. I can sit and shoot, sit and fire artillery, sit and operate a drone. I can't walk out of sight on a dark night. I could drive trucks too. I'd be especially happy to fight for my country if it would get an exemption for my son because I don't like the idea of sending young men to fight. Even if you're a chicken or pacifist, you could serve in a non-combative support role. As someone said, if they're conscripting old farts like me, things are going bad. In Australia, we have a lot to fight for though. Having said all that, I'd only be really happy to volunteer if Australia was directly threatened. I heard that in interviews after WW2, over 60% of British soldiers admitted to purposely missing kill shots when they had gun sights on a man. I can't vouch for the accuracy of that stat, but I wouldn't be surprised to hear a lot of people purposely miss, or shoot to injure. Our animal brain contains a lot of violent impulses, but there's another part of human beings that feels revulsion and horror at taking life. This was also an issue in the Vietnam War. I understand us Western military training has developed to address this, to attack on instinct, so they can get a much higher proportion, 80% or something like that, of soldiers who shoot to kill on instinct without thinking about it. If they come over here, I have no problem defending my country. If you want me to defend my country 10,000 miles away from here, hard sell, hard pass. The genius of Daniel Tosh. I'm talking about bringing the troops home. That's the message. It's not obvious, but it's there. Bring the troops home tomorrow and continue the war here. Because we owe it to our troops to let them sleep in their own beds with their families. Wake up in the morning, have a delicious breakfast, drive to war. We can have it in Nebraska. We don't need that horrible state. Lose weight. No, gain weight, so they say you're literally unfit to serve. If I'm forced, I guess I would have to go. No, you wouldn't. You could resist. You could go to jail instead. There is always a choice. Buy a journal book and keep it along traveling in the war. War were declared. Men, you're lucky men. Soon you'll all be fighting for your planet. Many of you will be dying for your planet. A few of you will be forced through a fine mesh screen for your planet. They'll be the luckiest of all. If the US is being invaded somehow and I'm forced to protect my family, I'll fight to the death. If I'm being forced to invade another country, it's not fucking happening. Everyone knows the US can only die from within, not any outside invader. Unless aliens come along, no one is transporting an army across the ocean. Would you fight in a second civil war? I'm ineligible for the draft, but I'd certainly fight as a guerrilla or something if someone invaded. If they put out a draft for a foreign war, I'd go live in the hills or escape to another country, not fighting and dying for some rich assholes to make more money. Eligibility is ultimately determined by need. I'd go fight. I wish my own country gave me more reasons to fight for it though. It seems like a mess. I really don't feel very patriotic lately. I felt the same until I started traveling around and seeing what it's like in other countries. I'm 40 and out of shape, so I'd wonder what they'd have me doing. Working in the kitchen. I figure holding a gun backwards once or twice during training ought to get me kicked out. I wonder what actually would happen if you pretended to be a bumbling idiot. I'm from Hong Kong. I'd just move abroad. I'm not dying for a tyrant. I'll go fight. I'd be deathly afraid, but I do it. Then I'll go die in some field in Europe like God intended. Platoon officer, battling in the streets of Tehran. Where the hell's Private Thikal Maghreb? Private Thikal Maghreb, standing in an empty Romanian soybean field. Hello? Hello? I'd try to negotiate for a non-combative role, like repairing uniforms or taking care of children, our own or displaced refugees. An army can't fight as well if their jackets won't close or their boot heels are falling off. If you put a gun in my hands, I'm using it to defend a daycare. Fuck em. I'm not fighting. It is not in the common man's interest to go to war. I vaguely get the Ukraine and Palestine, but like fuck, I don't want war. Screw this shit. Nobody in the peasant class wins ever. If America goes to war, I don't win. I get severe PTSD or physical disability the government doesn't help with. Edit. I remember fighting insurance stitches cost for half a year. Why the fuck would I fight for this country? I just kept getting bills saying I wasn't covered. I was. Screw that shit. Between that and education costs, like seriously? Unless people airdrop into my town and start murdering people, I am never going to war for this country. Given my age, it would mean that the majority of able-bodied men had already died. So, we would be clearly losing said war or fighting an unwinnable fight. So then honor and glory are both already lost, and with the many remaining purpose in fighting for the state. So I would refuse the call and move to protect those I love instead. I would not allow myself to be forced, as avoiding danger would no longer be possible anyway. If I am to lift a weapon again, it will be on my terms. I'm not fighting a war started by emotionally unavailable stupid old men. I would do everything to run away and save myself. I'm not a hero or patriotic enough to waste my life fighting for my country. Unfortunately, those old men happen to not be dumb, but incredibly self-centered and with weak morals. I moved from the US to a country that has no real military, so yeah, no politician is sending me to die. A people who does not want to feed their army will soon be forced to feed someone else's. Napoleon. I would not fight. Not dying for corrupt government and their dirt and fabric. Desert.